All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my author book chats. I'm Book Club Mom, and I have with me today Darlene Foster, coming from Spain. What's the town that you live in Spain?
I live in Orihuela Costa, which
Okay.
is on the Costa Blanca of Spain, a little bit south of Alicante.
Oh, nice. Okay. And the weather there, you said, is
Very warm. It's about 31 degrees today.
okay. And what is
31
that?
degrees Celsius, I'm sorry.
That's
Uh,
okay. When I was in, I guess it was elementary school. We had to learn the metric system and they said, we're moving to that. You must learn all of this. And we never did.
but a lot of the rest of the world is, so it's nice to know it. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, I know. And I get even like kilometers and, like if people talk about how fast we were talking with somebody on Sunday and we were talking about the Autobahn and the guy was saying, yeah, we were driving and at, how many kilometers per hour. And I didn't, you don't have a concept of how fast that is. So
Then you
anyway,
have to calculate, and that's not always easy. I
no.
know.
So I think some cars have both, like on the
Yes, a
gauge.
lot of cars do.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
mine might even next time I get in my car, I'm going to take a look. So anyway, Darlene and I were just talking. We're totally winging this because we got along so well in our last one. So we just decided we would just spur of the moment kind of do a new one. Uh, I gotta put this over here. And that kind of like leads into the whole discussion of are you a pantser or a planner? And so if you follow my blog, you might have seen the my more I guess it was the most recent Who's That Indie Author
Right.
for Darlene. And one of the questions that I like to ask is are you a pantser or are you a planner? And Darlene, your answer was
I'm a card carrying member of the Panther Society.
That's awesome. Because, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm a planner for a lot of things, like with work and everything, but like I am smack in the middle. I like to wing things because I think they become more authentic. But at the same time, there's certain things that obviously we all have to plan certain things. And that
In the
was more,
rest of my life, I'm a planner. I
you are.
plan all the time. I plan everything. I'm the planner for parties, for family get-togethers, for travel, everything. But in my writing life, I'm not. And it just seems so weird. But I cannot I sit down and I try to plan and it just doesn't work for me. I've got to write organically. I've got to be able to start writing and just let the story evolve as I'm writing. I sort of let the characters take over. And when I plan, it stops me.
Yeah.
I can't move forward. Now, having said that, I will do, and I did bring this,
Oh,
I will do a mind map. Now, it's very messy. This is my most recent book that I've been working on. And so in the middle is the name of the book, Amanda in Ireland. And then there's all these squiggly things outside. And it's as messy as my mind is. But it's how my mind works. But basically, I put little notes on, like, mostly it's about setting. So all the squiggly lines lead to a setting. And then I put little odd things like which day. I've got the days written there, day one, day two, because you don't want to.
for the plot or just the
Yeah, so so
progression.
so that I know that I've got, like, if I've got 5 days in this book, usually whenever she goes somewhere, she's usually gone for about a week. So I got to make sure it fits into that.
Mhm.
So I've got that, but I change it all the time. You can see some scribbles scribbled out. It's a real mess, but it works for me somehow or other. I guess I consider writing kind of a messy affair, and planning is just too neat and tidy for writing
I
for me.
think, I think anyone who's creative, like you, there's so many things in our lives that dictate that we have to plan.
Work, all the
Yeah.
years of I worked for 48 years raising children. I mean, you've
Yep.
got to get them places on time and stuff. You got to prepare meals at a certain time to fit into everybody's schedules. And I think that it's a form of rebellion for me to not plan my writing.
That's
I think it's
super
sort of
interesting.
in my head, I'm thinking, you know what? I've been planning stuff all my life. I think I'm going to have fun with this and not plan and just wing it.
And do you find that like your characters surprise you? Like you do you
All
like
the time.
get into
All
stuff and then yeah.
I think they're going to go one way and they go another. Characters appear all of a sudden that I didn't think were going to be there. Yeah, I mean, I had a cat in one of my books, so the England book, a cat that lived in a bookstore, of course, and and Amanda and Leah were in a graveyard, and they could sense there was someone around, and they were getting all creeped out, and then all of a sudden, this great big Maine Coon cat jumped out from behind a gravestone, and it was the same cat from the bookstore. His name was Rupert, but I hadn't planned that at all. I didn't know who or what was coming out of the graveyard behind the gravestone. And all of a sudden, this cat, I'm just typing away and I typed that the cat jumped out. Oh,
I
okay.
love
Well,
that.
so I gave the cat more, the cat took more importance in the story after that. Yeah.
You know, I do think that's how the creative mind works. I mean, have you ever been in a group of people where, everybody's just relaxing and laughing, and there's like one really clever person in the group, and the jokes that come, I mean, that person hasn't written those all up ahead of time. They just
They just
come
spew them out.
based
They just come out.
on,
I've got a person in mind right now while you're saying that, a longtime friend, and in fact, he just recently passed away. But yes, we'd have these parties, and you're right. They would just come out, and we would think, and we would laugh, and then he'd say another one, and he was incredibly creative. Yeah, he was a very creative, intelligent
yeah.
person. Yeah. Mhm.
I knew this. I had a childhood friend, and like through my teenage years, well, two friends they were, and their father was, uh, he worked for an ad agency. He was hilarious, and he would just come out, and then you'd see the commercials, and obviously there's a lot of planning with commercials, but it still starts with that spark.
Of
So
course.
yeah, so well, that's
Of
neat.
course.
Now,
And
can
when they write sitcoms, I've read about this and heard about this. The writing team just all sits around a table and they just talk about all kinds of things, and and a really good idea comes out
did you
and
ever watch
becomes
the
a
Dick Van Dyke Show? This
oh,
is going.
years and years ago. Yes,
So
yes,
they're
yes.
all like, they're all in their office and they're all just pitching ideas. And then the woman in the group, I've forgotten her name, but they would start
Brilliant.
doing like a song and dance and like just that was part of the humor of the show, but that's
Part of
how
the
they
show.
would come up with their ideas. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. So fun. So, for me, being a pastor is fun. And every now and then, I think it probably takes me longer to write my stories because of that. It takes me longer to do the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth edits. But still, it's just the only way it works for me. Every
Yeah.
now and then, I think I'm going to try planning, and it just doesn't work. And then it becomes too much like work, I guess. Maybe
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Can you hold up your paper again?
Oh, my crazy little mind map.
Yeah. So is that do writers use things like that or is that I've never seen anything like that before.
It comes from my business background. We used it in business more, and then we used it when I was teaching people how to look for work, which was my last career. I would tell them to make a mind map because sometimes they didn't even know where to start. And then so that they get different ideas of where they should look for work. So that's where the idea came from, the mind map. So it's more
Hmm.
from a business perspective. And then when I was teaching the class on how to find work, I used my book as an example. So I'd write the book, I'd write on the board, I put a circle with the name of the book, whatever I was working on at the time. because I wrote my first four books when I was still working. And then I'd show them how I would make these little squiggly lines and and then more little lines and where it would lead to, just so they get the idea to get their creative mind working. Because when you're looking for work, you have to be creative.
Yes, you
But
do.
they didn't realize that. And they loved it. They loved it. And you need to use different colors. You can't just use black and white. It needs to be different colors for different things.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be as messy as you want it.
Right. Oh, I
And I
love.
don't know if other writers do. I'm sure some other writers do. I can't be the only one who does, but it works for me.
I've seen, I'm picturing the background of a writer's social media, and she has just, it's loaded with post-it notes that she moves around
I've seen
in
that
lots of different
too. That
colors.
Yeah, I tried that once. That didn't work for me, but I can see that. Yeah,
Yeah,
different ideas on post-it notes. Yeah. Mhm.
right. Oh,
And the other thing is just the whole method of writing things down, like writing them on the mind map, sticks in my head
yep.
then. Yeah. Mhm.
Well, don't get me started because, like the digital age in schools, nobody writes anything by hand anymore. Everybody's just tapping it into a device. And I don't think that stuff sinks in the same way as, how I was raised.
Maybe not, but they'll evolve and it will. It will for them
Yeah.
because that's how it's been their whole life.
Well, that's an excellent point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's not the end of the world. They'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. So, you tell us about your latest book.
Yes, I just wrote the end about 2 days ago. Now,
Oh.
that's the first draft. That means I have to go through it. I do a lot of self-editing, polishing, and then I'll send it out to beta readers, and then I'll get a cover designed, and I'll send out some arcs, and then eventually it'll be ready to be published. But yes, it's Amanda in Ireland, The Body in the Bog,
Ooh, okay.
and I had a lot of fun writing it. I had a lot of fun researching it. I went to Ireland 2 years ago to visit some friends. And they took me around their little corner of Ireland, which was fascinating. I mean, there's so much folklore and myths and old castles and oh, I had so much fun. I
Hmm.
really, really enjoyed it. And my friends were eager to, share their knowledge. I have lots of Irish neighbors in the little expat community. I live here in Spain. And so, I'm always picking their brains. Today, you'll think this is funny. Just before we did this, I was getting a pedicure for the summer. I wanted to have nice toes for the summer, as we all do. And the lady who does my nails is Irish. So, of course, I was picking her brain and got a few more ideas that I'm going to tuck in the book.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So the research has been a lot of fun as well as writing the book. Amanda goes to Ireland because her cousin who's 10 years older than her, um, is getting married and he's marrying an Irish girl. He actually went to Trinity College and that's where he met her. And they're getting married in Ireland and they're getting married in a castle, of course. But of course, all kinds of things happen, and we don't know if the wedding is going to happen or not. Yeah. That's about all I want to say because I don't want
Yeah.
to spoil
No, of
things.
course. Yeah.
But Amanda loves graveyards and she gets to go to lots of different medieval graveyards and
Hmm.
castles and stately manor homes and beautiful gardens. And of course, it's so green there because it rains all the time. Although Amanda's lucky, it doesn't rain very much while she's there. I was lucky too. I was there for a week and I think it only rained twice. I couldn't believe my luck, but
Is there a lot of clover there? I'm thinking of four-leaf clovers.
and you're thinking of shamrocks. Yeah.
Shamrocks. Yes, that's different. Right.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they're sort of the same thing, but yeah, yeah, shamrocks. Yeah, it's just so green. I've never seen anything so green. As the plane was landing in Dublin Airport, and I looked out the window, I said out loud, "Oh, now I know why it's called the Emerald Isle." because it was so green,
Wow. Is that was your
incredibly.
first time in Ireland?
That was my very first time in Ireland. Yeah. Another
Because you've
thing off
traveled
the
a lot.
list. Yes, I've traveled a lot, but still lots of places I want to go to.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Now, what number is this in your
This
series?
will be book number 11 in the series.
Hmm.
Yes.
And you can
Yes.
read them as standalones, could
Oh,
you?
yeah, they're all
Yes.
standalone. Yeah, each one is an adventure of its own. The only thing they have in common is Amanda, and her friend Leah is usually there, but she's not in this book, although they do communicate
Hmm.
by um, by social media
Oh, nice.
a little bit, but she's not there in Ireland with her. Yeah,
And does Amanda stay the same age?
she does. Yeah, she's 12.
That's nice. Yeah.
She's 12 going on 22.
Hmm.
She's pretty mature for her age. And she's well read. She's an only child. Her parents work a lot. They put in a lot of overtime. They're both accountants in downtown Calgary. And so, she's pretty independent. She's got a good head on her shoulders. She's resourceful. She does foolish things once in a while. What 12-year-old, I should correct that. What woman doesn't? Every now and then she'll do something that, could make you say, well, why would she do that? Or that could
Hmm.
be a bit dangerous, but she doesn't always think about that. But she gets herself out of scraps all the time.
That's good. She can think on her feet.
Yeah, she can think on her feet. That's exactly right.
Hmm. So what is I'm curious too, we may have touched on this in the last time, but what is the time frame? How does that typically, so you've finished it, you're going to do the steps where send it to an editor and then beta reading and all of
Mhm.
that. How long before it will be published?
I'm hoping to publish it this fall.
Hmm.
Now, because I'm self-publishing, and this is one of the pluses of self-publishing, is you get to decide when it gets published.
Yeah.
If you're working with a publisher, they've got a long list of things to do, and you just get put in the pipeline. And sometimes it's a year after you write the end,
Mhm.
sometimes it's 2 years until it's actually published. So if things go according to plan, and so far they are, I would like to have it out well before Christmas so people can buy it for Christmas presents.
That's nice. Yeah. And you use the same cover designer that you've used there. Your covers look similar and
I love my covers. Now, my publisher, who I love dearly, um, she designed all the covers except the last one, Amanda in Scotland, for those who haven't seen
hmm.
it. This one I sort of designed myself, but then I found a designer in the Seattle, Tacoma area, and she put it all together for
Hmm.
me. And I think she did a fabulous job. And
Hmm.
my only request was that it matched the other books, and
Right.
she did it. And so I'll be using her again for the Ireland book.
Nice. Yeah. Do you go back and forth with designs,
Yeah, she was
covers?
excellent.
Hmm.
She would do a mock-up and send it to me, and then I'd look it over and say, "Well, I like this, but the sky's not quite the shade of blue I wanted it to be, and
Hmm.
the my name is a little too big. I want it small. Just that sort of
Right.
thing."
Hmm.
And I think it was only 2 or 3 times, and it was exactly what I wanted. I mean, she does the front, but then
Hmm.
of course she does the back as well,
Right.
which is really important.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't have the technology to produce it the
Yeah.
way I would want it to. I don't want it to look homemade, so to speak.
Hmm.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, that's really neat. And so your books are available in print and as ebooks,
Yes,
right? How
print
about,
and
yeah.
ebooks.
And do they both get released at the same time when you release it? Hmm.
Usually, if everything goes well,
Hmm.
they usually do. The ebook is a little easier to produce, so sometimes that comes out a few days earlier.
Hmm. But generally the same time.
Generally the same time. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
nice. So, I wanted to ask you too. You recently published a memoir, and I'm always fascinated by that story. You grew up on a farm, and the title is "You Can Take the Girl from the Prairie," and stories about growing up in on the Canadian prairies. So, not just a farm, but a prairie. And so, I'm wondering, are we having an audio problem? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You
Okay.
froze for a minute, but you're
Okay.
fine now.
Because it's funny, the little light on my laptop went off for a moment, and I thought,
It was just a minute. You froze
yeah.
for a minute, but you're
Okay,
fine
good.
now.
But we got the gist of that.
Right.
So can you tell us a little bit about your childhood growing up on a prairie?
Yeah, it was neat. It was really fun. My dad, well, it was started out as a small farm and then he kept expanding it. My dad was a very hard worker and he had big dreams and he followed them. Um, and eventually it was a ranch. We had the big branding parties. There was always people around. I'm the oldest of four. I have three younger brothers, two surviving younger brothers. And it was really a great upbringing. Although at the time, I thought it was boring and I wished I lived in the city. And my grandma lived in the city and my aunts were in the city. I have one aunt that's my age and I spent quite a bit of time in the city with them. Um, but as I got older and became an adult and had children of my own, of course, my kids loved being able to go out to grandma and grandpa's ranch and spend time. I realized that it was an absolutely idyllic upbringing.
Hmm.
So I've got the best of both worlds, really. I mean, I did move to the city when I was 17, and I've never lived rurally since then. But yeah, I mean, I think it's the values that you're taught when you live on a farm, the value of hard work,
Hmm.
um, the value of being resourceful and being able to think on your feet, all those sort of things, which I think I have, and I certainly put into my character. And I appreciate my parents for everything they did, the sacrifices, the hard work that they did. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, they were
I
really good
imagine
people.
that you all had to do your share of work there.
Oh, we all worked hard. We
What
really
kinds of
did.
things did you have to do? What was on your
Well,
chore
because
list?
I was the girl, I did the inside stuff, which was fine because I wasn't interested in rounding up cattle and
Hmm.
milking cows and feeding the pigs. I wasn't interested in that, so I was quite happy to help mom in the house. And yes, I'd get up in the morning. My brothers would go out and milk the cows and feed the other animals and stuff, and I would make breakfast and I would make our lunch. And there's actually a picture in the book of us on our way to school. Let's see if I can just get it here. There we are. And I'm holding my little lunch kit. I don't know if that's probably
Oh,
not
I
very
can
clear.
see. Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. There we are, ready for the school bus. And I've got my little lunch kit in my hand. And
Mm.
so I would make the lunches and everything. And then when we came home from school, my brothers would go and do farm chores, help my dad, and I would help mom prepare dinner, dust, dust. There was always dust every day. So my mom, and she was a neat freak. So we had to dust every day to make sure there wasn't little bits of dust all over the place and
Hmm.
sweeping the floors and that kind of stuff. But,
Hmm.
you know, you got into a routine. And then after dinner, mom would go out and milk the cows with dad and my brothers, and I would stay in and wash the dishes and watch the baby because I have one brother that's 16 years younger than me. So I would look after him too. So by the time I was 17 and left home, I pretty well, you know, knew what you had to do to keep a home and be an
Right.
adult. So work never I was never afraid of work. And I remember many of my bosses would, at the time for your review, your annual review, would say, I can't believe how hard you work. Like, and especially in my later years of working, you're twice as old as everybody here and you work twice as much, would say. And I said, it's because I came from a farm.
Right.
It's just that never really leaves
There's
you.
always something that you need to do,
There's
you know.
always something to do. And if I'm finished my work, I'd go and help other people.
Hmm.
it's just what you do, you know.
Yeah.
And the whole farming community too. You know, if somebody got sick, or I remember one of the farmers broke his leg, all the other farmers went and did his work for him. You know, let's say it happened. I think it must have happened in August or something because I remember all the farmers went and harvested his crop because otherwise it wouldn't have been harvested, and that's his livelihood for a year.
Yeah.
And so that kind of teamwork there again, I've got those skills as well.
Hmm. Now, you said it was a ranch, so you were you growing any crops?
Yeah, we did both. My
Yes.
dad actually called it a mixed farm because he
Hmm.
had the grain farm and he had the ranch, the cattle ranch.
Hmm.
It wasn't a huge ranch, you know, he didn't have thousands of cows. Um, I remember in school, I wasn't a really good farmer's daughter actually because I didn't pay a lot of attention to the whole business of farming, and it is a business I grew
Yes.
to
Yeah.
learn later on. And I remember in school one time, the teacher was saying, you know, who of you are from a farm? And, you know, a handful of us put up our hand. And then he said, and what kind of a farm? And I said, oh, you know, there's wheat and barley and some cows and horses and some pigs. He said, oh, well, how many pigs? And I said, I don't know. Of course, I was trying to be cool, right? I was probably 13 or 14 at this point. Well, I don't know. And the teacher said, well, approximately. I said, approximately one. I told my dad this later, and he couldn't believe it. Well, you know, we've got three sows and six piglets, he said. You should know that.
Well, I know. It's funny. It's a good
It's
story.
funny as kids, the grass is always greener, right? I always envied the kids that lived in the city or even in the
Hmm.
town that was near us.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, I'm a people person though, and I think it was a bit lonely for me.
Hmm.
You know, I like having people to talk to.
I
So I think
imagine you were a reader.
and I was a voracious reader. And mom sometimes would get quite annoyed at me because it would be time for me to be doing some of my chores and she couldn't find me because I'd be hidden in the hayloft or somewhere reading a book. Yeah.
Did you use library books or were you?
Yeah, I both. Mom and dad did have books in the house, and I was often given books for gifts. My grandmother, in particular, knew how much I loved books, and
Hmm.
she often bought me books, and my aunts as well. I still have my copy of Little Women that my aunt Alla gave me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really, really special. But no, we went to the library once in a while too when we did
Hmm.
go into the city. And you know, that's a memory I'll have forever is the first time I walked into a library. And I don't know how old I would have been, probably about five, I'm thinking,
Hmm.
5 or 6. And just all these books at your disposal and the smell of the books. And
Hmm.
I know you work in the library,
I
so
do, but
I
yeah.
don't need to tell you all this, but for a little kid from the farm, this was like Nirvana. I mean, I really thought I died and gone to heaven. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
And you
did
could
you
take out
have
as many as you wanted.
I know.
If,
Well, what's really funny is people will come up and say, how many books can I check out? And our limit is 100. So we love saying, well, the limit's 100. And then looking at the expression on people's faces, because and sometimes kids will ask that. And, like the parents might not be thrilled to have 100 books because keeping track of all of them and
oh,
returning them,
yes.
all
As
of them
many
at
as
the
you
same
can
time.
carry, I think one of the librarians said to me, as
That's
many,
good.
and I was just a tiny little thing, as
Yeah,
many as you can carry.
that's nice. That's a good
Some
answer too.
libraries do have a lower limit than 100 though, but
Hmm.
you know, I mom and dad would say, look, you take out these six, and when you're finished reading these, we can come back and you can get six more.
Yeah.
Um, Mind you, that had to increase because I probably read three of them in the truck going home. I read Gone with the Wind when I was 12, and I read it in
Wow.
3 days. It was summer holidays, and that was the one mom would constantly be looking for me to do chores because in the summer we did pickling and canning and gardening. Like there was a lot of work to do in the summer, and she'd be looking for me, and I'd have my nose in this book. And at one point, I was ironing. That was one of my jobs was ironing, and mom ironed everything, absolutely like underwear she ironed. And I was ironing and reading at the same time. If you can, here's the book, here's the iron.
Right.
And mom came in and she said, Darlene, you're gonna burn. You're gonna burn the clothes. No, no, I'm fine. I'm fine, but I got to read this chapter. It's just so
That's
fun.
really funny. Yeah.
Yes, I was quite bookish. I remember asking the teacher more than once if I could please not do uh, physical education and read instead.
What did she say?
No, you have to do phys ed.
Get your gym suit on.
Yeah. Mhm.
Our gym suits were so crazy
Oh,
looking.
ours were ugly. Oh, they were horrible.
Ours were like blue. I mean, I can't even believe this. It was an all-in-one.
Bloomer. Yes.
Yes, and they were ridiculous.
They were so ugly.
They
Oh my.
really were. I wore them through eighth grade. I mean, I can't even believe because now you can just do gym and whatever you want. I mean, most kids wear like very casual clothes to school anyway. So,
Yeah, but it's the whole thing is different. We couldn't even wear jeans or pants of any sort to school. We had to wear skirts, and it got like -40 sometimes in the
yeah.
prairies. So we'd wear leggings, and then we'd wear jeans, and then we'd catch the bus and get to school and run into the
Yeah.
bathroom and take the jeans off. Yeah, because we weren't allowed to wear pants.
I'm trying to think of I think through elementary school we had to wear skirts and dresses and it was the same discussion. Now I grew up in New Jersey, so it did get cold, but probably not as
Yes.
cold for you as it was for you. But we were allowed to wear, we had it was really popular at the time, danskin outfits. They were kind of like leggings, like you said. And so we were
Hmm.
told we could wear danskin pants under our skirt until we got to school.
You have
It's
to
so
change.
crazy. Junior high, we had dress codes, but you could wear pants for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's changed, I think. Well, I think the whole time I went, but it wasn't long after I left school. And then, of course, I was in high school in the 60s when the mini skirts were out.
Right.
And so we'd wear our regular skirts to school. So mom and dad would see us off in our skirts that were knee length, of course. We'd get to school and we'd roll them up.
There's a lot of transformation going on, even now, like, with makeup and clothes for sure. So,
Yeah, but it was fun. It was fun times. And
yeah,
I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change a thing now. Mhm.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm nostalgic about my childhood as well. It was not I grew up in suburban New Jersey, but it was very idyllic
Sure,
as
you've got
well.
stories too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Hmm.
So we have a couple minutes before our Zoom will cut us off. So I
Okay.
wanted to ask you, what what's your next, what are you going to do now? Now that like you've done the writing and you already described the steps that occur,
Right.
but you've been freed up in a way. Are you going to start working on your next
Oh,
idea?
I will. I will
Yeah.
start working on my next one. I'm
Mhm.
thinking in August, I'm going to Scotland to a writer's retreat for 6 days. And obviously, I want to have something to write while I'm there. So I'm going to start Amanda in Thailand.
Nice. Okay.
Because I went to visit my brother in Thailand a year and a half ago and had an amazing time. And it's time for me to leave Europe. I want to do another setting. So the last few books have been in Europe, which has been great.
Hmm.
And there's still a lot more I could do, but I think it'd be nice to do something in another continent. Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
I like
And I've
it.
already penciled a few little ideas and thoughts. Well, while I was there, I was taking notes and pictures. So,
I knew
uh,
you had said that in our last chat. You were
yes.
saying that you definitely do take a lot of pictures and
Yes,
take
and
notes. So
that
that's
really
smart.
helps. It
Hmm.
really helps. I went through all my Ireland pictures when I was writing Amanda in Ireland, and just ideas just popped out looking at the pictures. Oh yeah, I can include that, and that'll fit right
Hmm.
in. Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
nice. So I don't
Yeah.
want to have an abrupt ending. We have 2 minutes, but I wanted to say, so if you're watching this at the end of all of this, I'm going to put how to find Darlene and images of her book. If and Also, it will be in the description of the YouTube video that I will do. So, I just want to thank you. It was a lot of fun, Darlene. It was
It was a
really
lot of
great.
fun, and my dogs didn't bark at
No,
all
I
because
was kind of, I'm
I'm
kind of
doing this
disappointed.
outside, and I thought they would bark, but they've
Yes.
been really good. So they are really little angels, and they'll get a treat for that, I'm
That's
sure.
good. So, well, you're 5 hours ahead of me, so I appreciate you taking time in your afternoon for me, and uh, so I hope you have a good rest of the day, and
And
I'm
you.
sure we'll do this again. So I look
I'm
forward
sure we
to
will.
it.
It's been a lot of fun.
Okay. All right.
Thanks,
So,
Barb.
sure. Thank you.